Mike's on.
All right, on this Wednesday, a little after 5 o'clock, it's been a very busy day. You've heard from A-Rod and Coach K early. You'll hear that again at 6 o'clock. We talked to the legendary Duke coach earlier in the show. You heard both from Aaron Boone and from Cashman, who told you they feel the relationships are very important, that the player relationships have changed, and that is a very important part of it, and that this is a process, and they want to have a lot of information and a lot of it going back and forth. And Boone has clearly embraced the process and has really, said that he wants to be very much a part of this whole thing. And he seemed to be very much on the same page with Cash on everything. And Cash said he had interviewed very, very well. You know, one of the things with the Steelers and Shavia, how about the way the Bengals were after the game? That was terrible. Their locker room was not good. For a guy who was injured like that, you know what? I know there's bad blood between those teams. They did not handle themselves well. They did not. That's why you're hearing them talk about the Steelers, where we have more respect for the Bengals, and more respect for the Ravens than we do the Bengals. You know what? It's just that relationship has deteriorated. That whole rivalry has deteriorated because it's gotten ugly. And when you get a guy hurt like that, and there's still guys being happy about the injuries, that's bad. And they looked really bad. I was happy to see Andy Reid bench Peters, suspend him for Sunday's game. He should have been benched and suspended after what he did. Mark in Tinton Falls, what's up, Mark?
Hey, Mike, how you doing? I want to talk about the Jets and the quarterback situation for next year, but I just want to tell you that I was a teenager when your first show aired, and I've been following you ever since. And amazingly, you and Chris Russo are really the architects for the modern-day framework of sports radio as we know it today.
Well, thank you.
It's truly been a pleasure.
Thank you.
That said, on to the Jets. So they've obviously won too many games to be in the quarterback sweepstakes in the draft this year. And assuming they don't think Kirk Cousins is worth $100+ million a season, what do you think about Eli Manning and the Jets for 2 years?
Somehow I don't see it. I just think, first of all, Eli has to approve it. I'm not saying he wouldn't. I just don't see it. I just don't see the Giants sending him there. I think the Jets would not be running to that. I just don't see it. Listen, stranger things have happened, but I just think it's a long shot. I really do. I think there's other teams where it could clearly be a better fit. I mean, absolutely. The other thing is how comical it is, how few imaginative names there are when people start listing the coaches. I mean, every single one. Gruden, Cowher, Harbaugh, Saban, Shaw, and then right to the guys. Josh McDaniel has to be the first guy on the list. I mean, from there, Matt Patricia. Why? Because the Pat guys have been so successful. Well, give me the guy who let me the guy who left Belichick and has done well. Where is he? Can you please tell me, point to him, please. Charlie's out of coaching. Romeo, who was one of the great assistants ever, was not good twice as a head coach. And I love Romeo personally, but he was not a good head coach. And who else? McDaniel got run out on a rail. So where is the successful Belichick assistant? There hasn't been one. Now, you can't count Saban. Saban and him are buddies, but you can't count Saban as one of his guys. Mike in Saddlebrook, what's up, Mike?
Hey, Mike, how are you?
Good, what's happening?
Listen, I just wanted to talk about Steve Spagnuolo's press conference today. He's such a classy guy. He's really a good communicator. Just the stark difference between him and Ben McAdoo is unsurmountable.
I think they're different. They're clearly different people, so you're right. I mean, I think that's Ben's, his whole stance was very cocky. It was very confrontational. It was very cocky. It was very in your face. That's what he was. Charlie in South Plainfield. What's up, Charlie?
Hey, Mike. How you doing?
Good. What's happening?
Pleasure to talk to you.
What's happening?
I was hoping to get through. Good wishes and enjoy the time with your family.
Thank you. What's happening?
In regards to Girardi being fired and Do you think it could have been he chose CeCe over Sonny Gray? Maybe Cash wanted Gray?
No, I don't think it's that. I think you got the idea that he felt Girardi's relationships or lack thereof with the players had started to fray, and that they needed someone new. And I think really it came down to relationships more than anything else. I think the times he and Girardi probably got on each other's nerves, but I think it was more that Girardi and the players got on each other's nerves. And Girardi, who was very rigid in his approach, may have worn out his welcome a little bit with the players. Tom in Bayonne, and he clearly thinks that's very important. Go ahead, Tom. What's up?
Hey, Mike, what's going on, buddy?
What's happening?
Listen, I'm from Bayonne. I lived all over the country, and it's amazing how, only New York radio and sports, New York sports radio is, baseball is the tops of the top. You know what I'm saying? And, I got a few things to say, so just be patient, But, we're still talking about baseball here in
it's not unusual. The Yankees just named the manager today.
Yeah, and
any day the Yankees name a manager, you're going to be talking about it.
So not too many, say the young black kids growing up in Jersey City. I bet you 2% of them realized Jackie Robinson's first game.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with anything?
Well, I'm just saying,
that's 60 years ago. Why would that have to do with anything?
Well, just the history of baseball in this area. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it still continues today. But, growing up in Bayonne, what we had was CYO basketball.
Wait a second. Now you're all over the map. You're on CYO basketball. You're on Jackie Robinson. You're on...
I'm on James, and I'm on...
Yeah, see you. Thanks, Tom. I'm done. Sorry. You couldn't follow you with a compass. I mean, you're everywhere. You had a lot to say, except none of it made any sense. I mean, that's the only problem with it. Tony in Elmwood Park. What's up, Tony?
Hey, Mike. Question about the Eli stuff. Do you think that John Mara got a little bit of a pass through all this? I mean, I know he's
I think he's been mortified. I don't think John Mara liked the idea of having to fire his coach in season. I don't think that he considers that a pass.
But the thing that kind of, it was his idea, really, the way it seems to have spun.
Depends who you listen to. John has not been consistent on this. This is the one thing he's not been consistent on. In one place, he said he originated it. Another place, he said that Ben McAdoo came to him. John has not been consistent on how this started. That's the one thing.
Well, there's certainly no way McAdoo, given how, he was certainly not in any good grade. He wouldn't have made that decision without at least Mara's approval. Whether it was his idea or not.
I agree with that. But the point is, they made a mistake. It was handled poorly. They messed up, and now they've changed coaches. So do I think he got a pass? I don't think John Mara liked the idea of having to fire his coaches.
The public firestorm came down primarily on McAdoo.
Because McAdoo made the statement started making it about performance driven and started on, and so did Reese, the idea that this was the best thing for the team. That's a whole different deal now than we want to look at young quarterbacks. That's a whole different thing of what's best for the team.
Well, what's best for the team could also mean we want to look at young quarterbacks. At no point did he say it gives us the chance to win that game that week.
Yes, everyone said he didn't. He really did. If you go back to what he said the first day, he really did say that. He did say that gave us the best chance to win. He really did say that.
He said the best for the team.
He also said it was the best. He was the best fit right now for what they wanted to do in their game plan. He was the best fit. That means he's the best guy to win the game. And that was never going to be considered right or accurate by anybody. And he did say that. The idea that he didn't say that, he did say that, because he did talk about game plan.
The decision, and McAdoo was a disaster.
He did talk about game plan, but he talked about game plan, and he talked about what was right, and this is the fit for the right game plan. He was trying to say he wanted someone with more mobility. That was really what he was trying to get to, is that he thought more mobility would help his quarterback play because of their offensive line. That was really what he wanted to get to in a nutshell. It was about mobility. And the idea of being able to take a hit. That was his other part, which didn't work out very well because as soon as he got hit hard, he fumbled both times he got hit. Which is what he's been on Eli about, is Eli fumbling. And Eli did fumble when he got hit, and as soon as Smith got hit, he fumbled both times. So it was no different. In that regard, it was no different. And he threw a late, really kind of meaningless touchdown pass that kind of camouflages his stats a little bit, too. Because the game was over when he threw that touchdown pass. Sonny in Malvern, what's up, Sonny?
Hey, Mike, you're right. He didn't say those words exactly, and I don't know if you know this. It was disputed on your morning show and a couple other things, and they made a big deal of it that you started the whole thing that, it was said that he gave the best chance.
He did say that. He did say that. He didn't say it in those words, but he did say he said that he gave them the best chance to formulate the game plan that they thought was the best way to win the game. That's the same thing as saying he gives you the best chance to win. And he was talking about his mobility, and that's exactly what he said.
I agree with you, Mike, but they were just arguing that they didn't.
Well, I don't care if they argued or not. They should have listened because that's exactly what he said that day. And he was very clear that he wanted Smith to play the game.
Right. As far as Eli.
And it's no secret now that he wanted Smith to play for a while, that he wanted Smith to play.
Right. And I agree with you about Eli not coming back. I think his heart has been broken. The damage is done. And I think it's the best case scenario. I was going to ask you if it's going to be his decision or the Giants.
Well, remember, the Giants got him under contract. So if the Giants pay him, he's their property. So the Giants do have him under contract.
Yeah, but they'll do the best thing in both people's interest, and they'll let him go.
Well, I don't. Listen, I'm going to think yes, but if you want to know who has the control, the Giants do have the control. He has a no trade, but the Giants could pay him and keep him. They do have the right to do that.
But Mike, they're going to respect his wishes, and they're going to let him go.
I would think so, because I think what they need to do is communicate, and what they need to communicate is if you're going to draft a quarterback. And you're going to tell me if you're going to try to do with him what you did with me, then I don't want to be here, because I don't want to be here and be sat down in the middle of next season.
Right, and you don't want that hanging over his head.
No, I think it's time. I think the best thing, just like I didn't think it made any sense for him to play Geno Smith last week, I don't think it makes a lot of sense for Eli to come back next year. I think the Giants should part ways with Eli after the season.
Yeah, Mike, as far as Boone, I think he came across really well today. Very intelligent. Obviously, it's in his blood. I think the fact that he worked for ESPN and he went from city to city and talked to hundreds of managers and he basically picked their brain, I think that obviously gave him a great advantage. And he even admitted that gave him the itch to be a manager.
Look, hey, listen, I thought Boone clearly knows how to communicate. He knows how to do interviews. He clearly knows how to communicate very well. From that standpoint, his skill set is very, very high. I don't think there's any question about that. And they feel he'll get along well with players. He said he will stress his relationships with players. So they put a very high premium on that. They all did today. They clearly put a very high premium on that. So from that standpoint, I think they got what they wanted. Now, again, we'll see how it works out. There'll be pressure on him to do well. He's going to have a team that's going to be picked to win. In a lot of places, a team that's going to be picked to win the World Series or picked to go to the World Series. There's going to be a lot of that from the Yankees this year. They're going to see a lot of that. No question about it. Jerry and Rye, what's up, Jerry?
Well, a couple of things. Mike, first of all, a couple of callers ago made a nice comment about you and how you and Chris Russo really started this whole thing. And I don't know how many more times I'll get through, but I don't know what I'm going to do not speaking to you all these years.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
It's been great. But I'll tell you what I'm really concerned about Eli is that he doesn't get hurt, and I hope this offensive line finally protects him. I mean, that's my concern. My concern is the offensive line has been so poor. Please protect the guy. And if you're going to play him, make sure he doesn't get hurt. Because, the guy's been a great player for so many years. I was at that Super Bowl. I saw that Super Bowl at 42, and I'll never forget that everybody said, they're not going to win that game, and they sure pulled it out with his miraculous scramble, and what a great catch, too.
Hey, his ability in the big game has always been pronounced. That's an art form. They were down 14-3 to the Cowboys, and he drove them down the field before the half and got them back into that game. He took a beating in the game against that great Niner defense, and he kept coming back in what was a brutal game. An absolute An unbelievable game. We heard that the Giants couldn't win in the cold in Green Bay, had no chance to win in the cold, went in there and beat Favre at his own game in the cold weather when the temperature was, I don't know what it was, 13 degrees, 15 degrees. Remember how red Coughlin's face was that day? I mean, what was it, 15 degrees? I mean, and the Packers single covered Plaxico Burress, and he just ate him alive all day as Eli went to Burress time after time after time. And hey, you get paid to be there in the big game. And just remember, go look at Eli's numbers in those fourth quarters of those two Super Bowls. And that's against two great Patriot teams. Brought his team from behind to win those games both times. I mean, that's what it's about. That's what it's about. And in the first game, twice brought him from behind. I remember the Pats going down the sideline. Junior Seau on the Pats on that game, who had never won a Super Bowl, going down the sideline saying, one more stop, one more stop, one more stop, to each guy going down the sideline. And they didn't get that stop. Seymour in Neptune. What's up, Seymour?
Hey, what's up, Mike? How you doing?
What's happening?
Hey, I love Eli, but I think his biggest problem is that he's too nice. Now, that being said, do you think it was his decision on his own to not only play the first half, and sit the second, or do you think his dad and Peyton got in his head?
I don't know about Seymour. I don't know the answer to that one. I do think his point was well taken. I asked him on Monday, remember, if they had just said, Eli, listen, you're going to play, but if the game's going badly, we might, put someone else in. What would you have done? He said, I probably would have played. But what he didn't like was the idea that win or lose, good game or bad game, he was coming out at the half. And that's what they felt was where the coach really made his big mistake. And I thought the coach made two mistakes. One, defining it that way, which really was going to be very hard for Eli to take, because it did look like he was just protecting the record, that the coach didn't really want to start him. And, it was pretty well defined there that the head coach was wanting to put a more mobile quarterback in to help his offense. Because he was, he knew he didn't have that with Eli, and he wanted to see if he could get it with Geno. And he thought the team would operate better with Geno, which I think he firmly believed, which is why he did it. I think he firmly believed that. Matt in Parsippany, what's up, Matt?
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
What's happening?
Not too much. I've been listening for the last 6 years up in Boston, so it's been that much sweeter to enjoy the victories up here. I want to throw out a name. And, he interviewed 2 years ago, didn't get the job. He's now with Tampa Bay. Had a good run with the Falcons. What do you think?
Mike Smith?
Yeah, former.
Yeah, listen, I'm surprised Mike Smith hasn't gotten back in the league as a head coach, to be honest with you. I don't know about the Giants, though, for him. I don't see that. There's certain guys, right away I get a feel that they're Giant material or they're not Giant material. I don't see Mike Smith coaching the Giants. I could see Sean Payton leaving the Pats, leaving the Saints, going, now they're having too much success probably this year. If they had one more bad year, I could have seen Sean Payton coming up here and coaching the Giants. Absolutely. Could have seen that in a heartbeat. Now, with the way they're going this year, probably unlikely he'd be leaving. There was a lot of talk about him leaving, finally parting ways with the Saints after this year. If they had another bad year. Doesn't look like they're going to have a bad year. Looks like they're going to have a playoff year. Roger in Oakdale. What's up, Roger?
Hey, Mike. I just wanted to say I've been driving home with you for the last 25 years, and it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
I learned a lot from you. I'm going to miss a lot, especially those Super Bowl trivias. Those were the best. I'm a Cowboy fan looking at this. What do you think of Jim Fossil's kid? You think they give him a look?
See, I don't know. Listen, he's got a reputation for being a good special teams coach. I don't see them hiring one of their old coach's sons. I just don't. But again, I don't know enough about Fossil's whole back. I mean, Fossil's got a good reputation as a special teams coach. He does. But I don't know about him being a candidate for them. I mean, I can think of some usual suspects, and then we'll see what happens. I mean, I think there's a couple guys the Giants would check in on that are pretty obvious. Other than that, it's going to be interesting to see which way it goes. Now, we got something else to give away here.